Hi, it's Blister Guy from Walk to Work at Mobile Hearthstone Podcast. Leaving the train station and heading home from work. It's raining way too much to play Hearthstone, so let's listen to Concede.
Kenny, can't hear you, bud.
Welcome to episode 85 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. My name is Kenny, and I go by KCCO Gamer. And all the way from Thunder Bluff, Louisiana, we have Cinder.
That's me.
And all the way from Undercity, Georgia, we have Appa.
Oh, hi.
And from Gadget Zan, New York, it's Ridiculous Hat.
I promise I'm actually here this week.
Yes. Thank you. So I'm not looking like a fool asking you how your ladder is.
An endearing fool.
Welcome back. We are glad to have you. We're back live on Twitch. So thanks for those of you that have joined us live. Hopefully we'll get some more here soon. But let's get to it. How's everyone been doing on ladder? Let's start with you, Ridiculous Hat. We miss hearing your voice.
Aw, that's so nice. So, I was playing... I really couldn't figure out what to stick with, but I coasted up to rank 4 with Token Druid, and I was 20 wins away from Golden Druid, so the list I was running was Phone Taps, and it's a really, really weird list. There's no Finja package, there's 2 Tar Creepers, there's Genzo, and it really worked well for me until it didn't, but I was able to get 3 wins from Golden Druid, and then on stream, and then Dills from the Angry Chicken hosted me, and then I proceeded to promptly lose 6 in a row. But then I rebounded the stream at the end by winning 3 more in a row, so I got Golden. And then I switched over to Secret Mage, so I can work on that as my 7th Golden class.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of fun, actually.
It was enjoyable,
so you've been
except when Token Druid... Token Druid is great when it blows people out, and awful when you don't blow people out, so...
Yeah.
The games were quick, at least.
You're playing on standard, right? Are you doing wild too?
All standard, yeah. It's I try to hit standard legend every month, so I'll probably put in some wild games at the end of the month. But right now, I'm really focusing on standard. Okay.
Cool. And Appa, what about you?
I haven't been playing that much ladder, honestly. I've been doing so much coaching, and I got to rank 10 on stream. And that's about it. Playing silly decks on stream, doing a bunch of coaching. So I guess that covers the next section for me too.
All right, and Cinder.
Yeah, I was kind of busy this past week with just Hearthstone related stuff. I mean, so I was stuck in my purgatory of rank 12 last week. And I made some adjustments to my Token Druid lists. I took a cue from Tyler's list, which has 10 1-drops. So I'm like, I'm going to try that. I'm gonna go super, super shallow, try that. Shot all the way up to rank 4 on Friday night, I think. But I've kind of been bouncing back and forth between 4 and 5. So Token Druid is, I think I'm done with it for now, because I actually got Golden Druid on Token Druid. So that happened. And I also played in the 1600 Dusts Cup number 2, their open tournament this past Friday or Saturday, and I won.
I heard about that.
Yeah,
congratulations!
That was super fun. Yeah, it was a Peon tournament, so I was like, what decks are good with just commons? Well, Innervate is a standard card, so let's start with Druid.
So you want to talk a little bit about that, and I mean, how many games you play? And
I ended up playing how many matches? I think I played 6 or 7 matches. It was double elimination. I lost, I think in the 4th round, and then went through the lower bracket and faced the guy in the finals who actually knocked me out previously. And so I had to beat him twice. So I went 2-0, 2-0 because we were doing best of 3. We had 3 decks, but I only played Token Druid and mid-range-ish Hunter. And it was like 7-2 on Token Druid and 7-1 on Hunter. Those are 2 decks that feel really good for me. Like, I've played them a ton recently, so it was pretty straightforward for me. The guy who, right as we were going into the final, Spivir private messages me, and I assume he private messages my opponent, and he says, so whoever wins is going to get a T-shirt, and they're going to get on the podcast tonight. And I messaged him right back, and I said, Spivey, I podcast every week. How about you take your listener and you put him on your podcasts? Because that's the whole point is, it's supposed to be exciting for him. And that dude ended up messaging me, a couple days later. He's like, I had so much fun. It was super exciting to be on my favorite podcast. Yada, yada. Thank you so much. So that was worth it for me right there. That was my favorite part of the tournament.
That's good. What a nice guy.
Aw, that Cinder is all right.
Spivir sure is a nice guy.
Both of you.
That's what we meant.
Spivir just moved up to Washington, too, yeah.
Well, it's also, I think it's worth noting that Innervate is a fair and balanced card.
You're lying.
Yeah. It's, yeah.
Rar. All right.
Oh, my God.
We'll move on. So I'm currently at 7 and 2 stars. I haven't played too much, but I'm actually enjoying Wild. I'm still working on my Warrior. I'll probably get that done once, or I'll see about getting to 5 first, and then I'll work on just throwing out a ton of Warrior deck wins. But I think I'd like to get to the rank 5 just so I don't have to worry about it the rest of the month, and then be done. If I keep going, I may just try going all the way to the top. I'm very interested in playing the Paladin deck, the Token Paladin, which is really good in Wild, especially against Pirate Warrior, and it seems to do well against the Druid.
Just play Druid. Malagos Freeze Mage.
That's a deck.
How did you do with that?
I ended up getting 6 wins because I went 5-1, I think, and I traded the win. And then I lost to some incredibly terrible sequences of Ragnaros RNG for 4 turns in a row. But, I think I could have legitimately gotten probably to 8 wins if that didn't happen. The deck was actually surprisingly pretty good. I played against the Freeze Mage Mirror 3 times and just could not lose. Just couldn't lose ever.
Freeze Mage is better than I think it gets credit for in every format right now. It's so good in Wild, too. You get to play all the broken cards. You still get to play Ice Lance. You get to put an Arcanologist if you want to. You still have Emperor Thoros on. It's decent enough in Standard. And then in Wild, you get to do more damage with less time.
Yeah, with my list. I was like, oh, I just have another Mad Scientist that lets me Reno easier. Cool. So I just cut a Mad Scientist and put an Arcanologist. It's okay, this functions. This is all right.
Seems fine.
I'm actually kind of excited to play Standard and play some of the Secret Mage that everyone's been playing.
Yeah, it's a good deck.
It is good.
No, don't tell anyone it's good. It's a secret.
It is a secret.
Oh my God.
Didn't you miss me?
I miss you so much, Hat.
All right, let's get the coachings done here. I actually coached Eric this week. We played a little bit of Druid. He wanted to finish a couple of Druid quests, so we got a couple wins there. And then we moved over to Priest. He was playing Priest with me. It was pretty even on game wins and stuff, but it was nice to be able to compare different ideas on how we see what could be played, which is very, a lot of the coachings I assume would be that way too, where just having another person there to think about a different line is very helpful. And yeah, so it's a lot of fun. He's a long time listener, long time patron. So that was pretty fun. I had a good time. And I think we went on to Heroes of the Storm afterwards and knocked out his last win for the promotion thing for Diva. So what about Appa? Since you said you had so many coachings.
I do literally daily coaching for multiple hours. I have weekly coaching scheduled with Drunken Monk every week. Then I have Concede coaching, which I haven't had much lately. But I had to reschedule Viriatus last night because I ended up on the bathroom floor being sick because I ate bad food. So I feel really bad for that.
Stupid
But
food.
yeah, I do coaching actually every day now.
Dang.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to keep track of, but it's fun.
No one's giving you any trouble about being at rank 10, though, if they're like at rank 3 or something, right?
No, I mean, like, if they were, I would just link them my Ghost of Gamers page and be like, shut up.
No, please shut up. They're clients.
Yes. They like us. You don't want them to not like us. All right.
I
And what about you?
actually had somebody add me on stream earlier after a game, and I was so ready for him to, like, start just BMing me, because I have that link, like, copy and pasted to my clipboard at all times when I'm on Hearthstone. Just, like, test me. I'll link it. I promise.
What's
Well,
the
I
end?
assume
what's
it
the end
went
of the
well,
story?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, he said good game, and he was actually reasonably nice, which is always a pleasant surprise, but yeah.
See, I always try and be nice. I think the karma there will come back. You'll get nice things.
Yeah,
back your way.
I'm of the school of thought that I'm nice to all of my opponents until they aren't nice to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And what about you, Cinder?
Just because I just thought of it and it doesn't go anywhere in the show, and I want to mention it. I was playing on ladder. I think it was last night or Monday night, and I'm just kind of half looking at the screen and half looking at my phone, and it comes up to like turn 2, and I look up and the opponent is Viriatus. I was like, oh, hey, greetings. And I high rolled him with like a 10-10 Van Cleef. So please don't go away, Viriatus. We love you. But anyway, so coaching, I had an awesome session with Esperoth on Saturday. She wanted help with what is that? Silence Priest. Yes, thank you. Person off the screen that doesn't exist. So we actually went undefeated for the entire hour, like 6-0 or 7-0 or something like that. She streaked up to an all-time high of rank 14, and she seems like she had a lot of fun. So that was awesome. And then I did a coaching with the Underthing last night. We did some high rank, like some above 5 token druid. We queued into a bunch of really difficult matchups, like a bunch of priests and other stuff that's really difficult for token druid, but it was extremely close every time, and I think we made all the right plays except for maybe once or twice. But at least we could like examine where we may have gone wrong, and learned from it. So it was a good session. For me too, because like I'm always playing token druid, so it's nice to coach it and kind of see it from the outside looking in a little bit. It's cool.
Nice. That was Esperoth's first coaching, and same thing for our Underthing. They seem to like it.
Yeah, in fact, Underthing, he's like, so what do I do for the next one? I was like, well, just if you want to ask for the coach that you want and tell us what time you're available, same thing. And he's like, well, I don't want to inconvenience you guys. I'm like, whoa. You are actually a paying customer. You get to ask for exactly what you want, and it's up to us to give it to you, or at least try to make something close to it. So yeah, I had to make sure that they know that they are our guests, and we are happy to accommodate them.
Yes.
This level of exceptional customer service brought to you by Concede. Feel free to subscribe today and receive this kind of treatment.
Thanks, Hat.
Speaking of good customer service, Hat, how's your coachings?
Well, with Floral yesterday, it was awesome. He's just a good dude. We both live in New York. It was a lot of fun. We were playing, pretty low in the wild ladder, just to have fun. We were enjoying Reno Lock. It's a fun deck to play. We lost a couple games pretty fast because, when Reno Lock loses, it loses very quickly. But all the games that went long, we were just dominating the board, and it was a lot of fun just working on sequencing and figuring out multiple lines of play. That was really where I think we hit our stride. And then I'm coaching Starlax tonight. We've already been talking a lot. I was supposed to get him last week. Unfortunately, my computer crashed last Tuesday, so I was unable to get him. But after this show, Starlax and I have a date with Destiny and also with Secret Mage. So the combination there should be quite enjoyable. And so I'm looking forward to that tonight. And that'll be my 4th coaching of the month. I have to get Psych Mopco as well. But I keep messaging him. It's like, dude, don't worry about it. I contribute because I like your podcast, not because I want the coaching. We'll take it when we can figure it out. So he's just so gosh darn good-natured.
What a nice guy.
Yeah.
Is he's with us in Twitch? No?
He
was last
usually
week.
is, but I don't see him today.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about our Patreon for a little bit. So if you'd like to go and be a big part of this bandwagon here, seems like everyone's hopping on it. I like it. So go to patreon.com/CoinConcede. We do want to give a big thank you out to Chris D and Ryan L for not only were they patrons before, but they actually upped their support for us, and they'll now start receiving coachings. So
many.
Yes. We're happy to help everyone. We keep adding on it and adding on, and every time we look at it, we're like, this list gets longer and longer and longer. But it's good because we actually have a little, Excel sheet to make sure that we get everybody in. And if not, we have makeups and ways to catch up with you too. So yeah, that pretty much does it for our opening here. Let's go ahead and jump into the news. All right, so a lot of this is stuff I'm not too knowledgeable about. I'm just going to announce it, and then I'll call on someone. Probably Pat.
Good.
Okay.
It is
So,
purple there in the notes.
Yeah, actually, you want to just take it over. I'm going to hand it readily over to you. Why don't you take over for that?
You've been volunteered.
I've been voluntold. Okay. Let's talk about the news. First of all, Lifecoach. He departs from G2 and ostensibly competitive Hearthstone. Now, also, this happens to be the weekend after he won a $100,000 prize pool Gwent tournament, which I'm sure is quite coincidental. But
yeah, sure, it has nothing to do with his decision-making.
yeah. I think it's probably pretty likely that he is done with competitive Hearthstone. He's been streaming a good amount on of Gwent before and after he won, and he said, listen, I want to work hard in this game, I want to come in at the top, and he did. So, sorry to see him go, but as long as he continues to play any game with Super JJ, I'm happy, because watching those two together is the bromance of the century.
It seriously is.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's the romance of the century, but it also means that he's probably taking JJ out of Hearthstone as well. So might be news in that direction at some point in the future, I'm sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see that. It'd be unfortunate because they're both, great personalities, but I think Lifecoach is well positioned in that he doesn't depend on the income from whatever game he plays, and so that allows him a lot more flexibility to change games or move around in a way that a lot of other personalities don't have that kind of freedom. So it's as long as he's happy, then I'm glad to see him do what he needs to do. But, we will miss him from the game because he was always very critically analytical and a really nice personality.
Yep.
What about wife coach?
Lifecoach, well, if I recall correctly, and I don't want to steal Cinder's thunder, she was involved in a pretty amazing tournament result that we're going to talk about in the Hearthstone Global Games.
True
Okay,
facts.
So that at least we're getting some kind of coach.
Yeah,
So that's good.
there will be a coach, but I'm not going to undercut our favorite Gadgetan auctioneer over here. What else? We've got G2 signing Raven away from Torpedo as a Hearthstone influencer. Now, I don't know what that means. Cinder, do you know anything about this?
That was G2's wording from their announcement. I mean, I assume it's much in the same vein as Lothar. It's just a personality who is out there promoting Hearthstone the game while also wearing the G2 brand. So I think it's pretty much the long and short of it.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, I envision him similar to how Frodan is on Tempo Storm, right?
Yeah.
Like he's there to talk, but not there to play, and that's a little different. But hey, I'm all about Raven, right? I didn't know much about Torpedo Squad, but I think he'll be a good addition to G2 because he's got a pretty high visibility.
Yeah, Torpedo's Hearthstone squad is actually quite good. It's like Board Control, Ness, that little practice group right there.
Well, they Torpedo dropped all their players a while ago.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, we can actually cover that.
Did we
Yeah,
talk about it? Oh,
yeah,
man, that fell down the memory hole. Oof.
Yeah. It's keeping track of all this stuff is challenging, but
So
I got
G2
you.
signed Raven out of free agency.
yes. We also have, this is my favorite announcement so far of the week. This came out earlier today. Deck importing and permanent friend quest. These are just major quality of life imports or additions to the game. So permanent friend quest, you can complete your quests in challenges now, no matter what they are, no matter when they are. Go ahead and challenge anyone you want, anyone on your friends list. If you have Murlocs, you can both just play a bunch of Murlocs. Just keep playing them and trading and playing and trading and playing and trading, and you'll get your gold. So that's just a nice quality of life upgrade. And then deck importing is super duper cool. You can copy and paste your deck list now from inside the client. If you copy it, it'll copy to your clipboard in text form, both a list of the cards and a hex code that includes all the deck's information. That if you have just that code copied on your clipboard when you open the app or you switch over, the game will be smart enough to say, hey, you have a deck list, do you want us to import it? And part of this, by far, my most favorite thing is that it now stacks gold and non-gold cards.
Yes.
That is nice.
It looks, yeah, Kenny, I know, right? I know that feeling. It looks half gold. It's like a gradient from regular to gold, but it's only one slot in your deck list.
Sharing is caring.
Yes. It's a really nice improvement. What do you guys think about these? I mean, it seems like all positive, but these are things that we've been waiting for a while.
So I will say I don't know if these are two things. Well, people did definitely want the friend quest. I don't know if deck importing was something that was in high demand, but it is nice to have. Just instead of the 3 minutes it might take you to make a deck, it'll take you 30 seconds. But I'll at least take this opportunity to take out my invisible drum kit and hit it again and say, Blizzard, you're investing all this money into competitive Hearthstone. You need a tournament client. Let me hit that drum again. Tournament client. Thank you very much for your attention.
Drop mic.
This has been a moment with Cinder Ascendant.
So I'm just happy to be a BFF of Hat. Like, we'll be friends forever because, now we can just play outside of ladder and just challenge each other left and right.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, they want people to play the game together, so making Friends Quest permanent seems pretty logical.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a couple that don't. I mean, you can't watch someone play you. So there's certain ones that won't work, but for the most part, the ones that do work by playing, you can start playing against other friends, so that'll work.
Now, could you watch your friends playing if you have a quest of watch a friend win?
Probably.
Yeah.
So if
Just
I
like
have
you
two
can
of
now.
my friends playing and I watch that game, am I guaranteed the pack?
No idea.
I think you have
Well,
to be
you're not
spectating the
spectating one of
person
them.
that-
You're spectating
Yeah.
only one of them.
You can
That's
spectate
true.
both.
You can spectate both. You'll see both hands,
Yeah.
but you're clicking on one person to spectate, and that's the person that would have to win. We'll have to test this out.
Yeah. Science. Okay. We'll figure it out.
Taking it from Dills.
Yes. Science! StrifeCro moves from Cloud 9 to Phoenix 1. He has changed his method of airborne transportation and the number.
Oh my god.
So, Phoenix 1. Somebody tell me about Phoenix 1.
Phoenix One
They're
is
a big League of Legends organization. They're
Yes.
in other esports, but they're really big in League right now. It seems like they're expanding into Hearthstone.
There you go.
There you go.
They do have a League of Legends team that is actually very good, and they have a couple of Smash players. But this is their first Hearthstone signing, but they said they will sign more.
All right. And I wonder what this means for Cloud 9. I don't remember who's on their roster. If I
That's,
recall correctly, Kalento was on there.
It's Kalento, Firebat, and Tides still on Cloud9.
Still a pretty good squad there, but Firebat has indicated pretty clearly that he's not super competitive anymore.
Yeah.
Not that he's not capable, of course, but that it's just not the direction that he's going to concentrate on. Tides, I don't think has competed in tournaments for a while. And
I've seen him around. He just hasn't had a big result in a while.
Yeah.
He's also said that he's going to be working. He used to be a Dota pro. Like, he used to be very good at Dota 2. And he said he's going to actively be working to go pro in Vainglory.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And Kalento is mostly stream-based anyways. He's still a ladder god, but I haven't seen him in a lot of tournaments. So I wonder if this is mostly a stream-based lineup that we're looking at here. It's interesting.
Could be.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last bit of news is about Team Cyclone. Cyclone adds Ryder. And the only person that I can think to ask about Cyclone is its previous only member. And now the
Previous
roster
and
has
current
doubled.
only.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
the
hell.
roster has doubled.
It has. It's completely doubled in size from 1 to 2. Yes.
Wait, hold on. I ran the numbers. You're right. Okay. Continue.
Yeah, they were trying to find another player to sign for a while that wasn't like ridiculously expensive, just because of how competitive Hearthstone works. People like demand salaries and stuff, and that's just completely unrealistic. So like they were trying to find somebody for a while, and then I played against Ryder in Austin, and I could tell he was really good. I didn't know he was as young as he is. He's a junior in high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But we had a good match when we played. I made like a couple errors, but it just didn't really matter all that much. But he ended up top 16ing the event, and we talked afterwards, and I recommended him to Slack, who's the owner, and yeah, they signed him. I think they announced it
They did.
like 5 days ago.
Congratulations to him. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah, he's really good. Pretty good. So yeah, I'm excited to be at least able to work with another like professional level player like for events. It's gonna be nice.
Ouch, Cinder.
Yeah,
I mean, that's no slight against you.
Hey,
Like
man.
you're very good, but like it's nice to have more people to test with. You know.
No,
Yeah,
I
somebody
know what you
who
mean.
can get more than 3 games in a night.
All right. So, any other news we have here, Hat?
we don't have anything written down, and there hasn't been anything else I've heard, so I'm going to say that's all the news that's fit to print in the Hearthstone world.
That's all, folks. All right, let's kick it over to Cinder then. You ready to take this on, Cinder?
It's the grand tournament! That's how I say yes. I hit the bumper. So let's go over Hearthstone Global Games in its 4th or 5th week now. We're getting close to the end of the group stage. A lot of these teams have played 4 matches now. Some have played 3, or a lot have played 3, and a few have still only played 2. But it's only going to take a couple more weeks to round all this out. For the past week, we had Chile versus Japan. Chile comes up the winner in this match, 3-1. Japan can't lose any more matches if they want to stay in the running. So it's a very talented Japanese team, and they have to really get it together and win out the rest of their series in order to stay competitive. Mexico upset Singapore 3-2. Another match win from Mexico. This actually gives Mexico really good odds to advance out of their group. So it's interesting to see Mexico kind of coming in as a dark horse in this event so far. Hong Kong beats Slovakia 3-1. Australia defeats Spain 3-2 in a very close match. South Korea defeats Hungary 3-2. Korea finally righting their ship, staying in the race with a 2-1 record after an earlier match loss. They're starting to with 2-1. They look good to exit their group. Malaysia defeats France 3-2. A very surprising result there. This Malaysian team is actually now 3-0, so they're almost guaranteed to get out of group. If they win one more match, they're pretty much out of the group and into the next stage. France, though, is on the edge of elimination, so France must win all of their matches in order to stay competitive. And this, folks, this was the final match yesterday. Unbelievable. Austria beats Russia. I repeat, Austria beats Russia 3-2.
Wow.
I watched this series, and it was just, there was some luck involved, but there is always luck involved, and part of the luck is playing into it. It's just like playing to an out. You're making sure that your board state and your mindset are available. for the right card to be drawn at the right time. And Austria played a flawless set and managed to beat the Russian powerhouse 3-2. I was explaining to my wife how good Russia is. This Russian team is like every Cold War era sports epic movie where Russia has like some, like genetic super freak 8-foot tall juggernaut like Ivan Drago that just is unbeatable. That's what Russia felt like going into this tournament. So Austria, Lifecoach included, as Hat noted earlier, being able to beat this team with Johnny Stone and the rest of that squad, that is so far for me the story of the tournament. So go back and watch that if you want to see some really amazing stuff. And now Russia having its loss means they are no longer undefeated. There are only a few left. It's Canada, Ukraine, the United States, Malaysia still undefeated, Italy, and Turkey. So that is 6 teams that are still undefeated out of all of these teams. So it's starting to whittle down. It'll be interesting to see if anybody can finish group with a perfect record. Elsewhere, Belgium defeats Denmark 3-1. Israel tops Finland 3-2, and Bulgaria sweeps Germany. It's a very capable German team that had a little bit of drama going into the global games, but they still have an amazing squad. Bulgaria actually is now 3-1 in their group. They are almost guaranteed to get out of a very difficult Group A. Group A includes Germany, Sweden, China, and Brazil. So that is, for Bulgaria to be on top of that group is amazing. So there's another dark horse for this tournament to keep your eyes on. So Germany is in trouble now. So they're going to have to do some serious work to get out of that group if they can at all. And the last match today, Brazil defeats Sweden in an upset. Brazil's a very talented team. I'm not surprised that they're doing as well as they are at 2-1 in the group stage. But Sweden looking a little shaky, honestly. Their play is not as perfect as I would expect it to be. So Sweden now 1-2, going to have a hard time getting out of the group stage. Before I hit the next segment, anybody want to throw in on the global games here?
Did you get a chance to see any of it, Hat?
I read about it. I didn't watch a lot of it. What happened with Sweden, Cinder?
Games were played.
Okay.
I was watching it in and out while I was at work today, so I didn't commit too much to memory. I saw there was actually a Quest Rogue mirror in that set, which was super interesting to watch because you want to talk about a game that is competitive, and then just goes completely one-sided. Like the first rogue to finish the quest just completely snowballs that game, which is not surprising. But interesting set to go back and watch as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you have prep and they don't, it seems pretty unfair. And a lot of ways for that match to go. Yeah, I haven't had too much of a chance to watch it. From what I've seen, the format is just super engaging over time, right? Like it's like tuning into your favorite TV show week after week. So I'm hoping to catch more of this. And I have high hopes for both Canada and the Ukraine, and I am pleasantly surprised by Malaysia. Yeah.
There's talent in all of these teams. Like Turkey being still undefeated is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and Italy wasn't the one I was going to peg either. I think if you looked at the initial teams, we had pegged Canada and the Ukraine, and the possibility of the U.S. being a solid team, but I think there were questions about the level of the commitment. Dog and Firebat they enjoy a good meme, so I didn't expect them to bring meme tournaments to be streamed in the global games, but they're primarily entertainment focused these days, so it's good to see they still got their tournament leg, so to speak.
Indeed. Let's spin the globe and talk about China versus EU. This invitational event happens usually once a year, but I think they've done it twice, at least once. NetEase is the company that distributes Hearthstone, the Hearthstone client in China. They put this tournament on and they fund it, and it is a huge production. It is like movie production level quality. So it's a really amazing event to watch if you want to watch a cool event. Last week we talked about the group stage finishing up. The group stage had an equal number of Chinese and European players make it into the single elimination bracket stage. That's Omega Zero, X-Hope, Dog, and Trunks from China. And from Europe, it was Stansifka, Orange, Pavel, and Zixo. the quarterfinal round, coincidentally, was seeded all China versus China and all Europe versus Europe. So we had a guarantee of 2-2 to go into the next round. And it ended up being X-Hope defeating Omega Zero 4-3, Stancifka topping Orange 4-1, Pavel defeats Zixo 4-1, and Dog defeats Trunks 4-2. That pits China's 2 best against Europe's best 2. So it may be now it starts to get mixed. We might see, depending if you're watching this live, you might see an all China or all EU or a 1-1 final. But it ends up being X-Hope again wins by the skin of his teeth against Stancifka to advance to the final. Dog lays low the reigning world champion Pavel 4-2, so he advances as well. That makes it an all Chinese final of X-Hope versus Dog. But let me tell you, X-Hope was finished with the close matches. He wanted that Ferrari, and he ends up burying Dog 4-0. This is X-Hope's highest profile win to date. It is a great win for him, and of course he drives home with a beautiful red Ferrari. And I watched this series too, and almost every game, X-Hope was down to single digits life, like 6 life, 2 life, 8 life, and managed to navigate his way out of those very precarious positions, taking advantage of whatever mistakes Dog would make, and he would flip those games around and win. Really amazing play by X-Hope, so huge congratulations to him, but I don't think he needs it. He's probably too busy driving his Ferrari.
Man. And X-Hope he'd gotten an HCT finish relatively recently, right? The most recent round?
Yeah, he was among the 4 qualified players during the Winter Championship, yes.
We've seen a lot from this guy lately, and I'm really excited to see what more he brings. And I don't know much about Dog. This is not the American Dog.
No, it's a different dog.
Different dog, more G's.
Yes. He's fairly... I haven't seen his name pop up before, but I can't imagine that he's brand new to the scene. I'm sure he's probably been scrapping in the Chinese circuit for a while.
Yeah, I mean, if you beat Pavel in a 6-game series, you're probably pretty good at Hearthstone.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, there was some chatter about Pavel making some play mistakes in that series. I mean, going from Russia to China, there's like a tremendous amount of jet lag. I know that they were super tired, but that's part of the tournament life. You got to be able to overcome that.
Yeah, I can't speak to the specifics of his play, but I can say that Pavel, based on his visibility and his series versus Amnesiac, people like to talk about him. And so I can't say for sure that he played perfectly. Well, I can say that nobody plays perfectly, so I doubt that he played perfectly. But I wonder if some of that chatter is related to his visibility and notoriety more so than his actual play. It could go either way. But he came in the group stage of this very tournament. He went 7-0. So if it's jet lag, it took a while to set in.
Exactly. And I mean, it's kind of like it wasn't a Swiss event, but it's Swiss curse all over again, right? The undefeated player ends up getting knocked out of the bracket. So we got just a little bit, tiny bit coming up. It's spring playoffs time for HCT. Everything is coming in all at once. Europe is playing this very weekend in their playoff series. Americas are playing next weekend. That's the 27th to the 28th. And Asia Pacific plays off on June the 3rd and the 4th. So Cinder's going to be a very, very busy Tauren for about a month. And you're going to hear all about it.
Nice.
Yeah, and the EU deck lists are all published. And
they are.
There are some saucy numbers in there.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of saucy, you know what? I took a note on this because I wanted to talk about it. Rewind back to CN versus EU real quick. X-Hope's decks that he won with. Check out this lineup. I'm in love with this lineup. Control Priest, Jade Druid, Taunt Warrior, and Control Paladin. That is a lineup.
It's a pretty hefty one.
It is a heavy, slow control lineup, and I love it.
He took a one-way train to Value Town.
He did, and apparently it worked.
Whatever works. All right. Anything else you want to mention?
Now let's move on.
All right. So I don't know if you have it queued up, but
I do.
Awesome. Let's play it.
Listen to this thing, everybody.
Hey, this is Heather and Dave, organizers for our 5th annual event, Con Before the Storm. This event means the world to us and the community, and for the last 4 years, none of this would be possible without you. Since 2013, when we began as World of Podcast, every year we have been humbled by the kindness of people in this community.
On Thursday, November 2nd, we plan to return with World of Podcast, our amazing fan art gallery featuring over 200 pieces of unique art, our meet and greet where content creators like Bajira, esports team like Method, and celebrity personalities like Malik Forte, Pamela Horton, and Michelle Morrow have mingled with fans.
Our Kickstarter is currently in full swing. We want to hit our stretch goals to get a larger space, which includes a Frog Pants and A-Move TV meetup, plus potentially some other stretch goal surprises.
Thank you for taking the time to check out our campaign and for your continued support. Help us kick off BlizzCon celebrations this year at Comic for the Storm 2017. Party by fans, for fans. For more information, please visit kickstarter.combeforestorm.com.
All right. So
I like
looks
that little tune that was going in the background. It got me moving.
Yeah, BGM.
very professional. I like it. So they've actually reached their second goal, which was to include the amove.tv and Frog Pants meetup. Their next one is to have a ballroom, so for their art gallery, like a bigger space, and for the meet and greet. So I'm hoping we actually get, or they get everyone they would like to have it for the meet and greet, which Hat and I will be there for meeting and greeting people.
Yay.
Especially our listeners.
Exciting.
Very exciting. So if you'd like to go check that out, the Kickstarter campaigns, kickstarter.conbeforethestorm.com. And go check it out. If you'd like to donate and you're going to be there, it's definitely going to be put to use. So, yeah, go check it out. Now, let's get some more logistics out of the way. I want to go over our iTunes because we had 3 this week. Everyone heard me last week and would like us to compare to our other friendly podcasters. And we had 3. So let me go over those real quick. We had Willow989 from USA. He said, awesome show. Great and interesting podcast. Love it. Then we had Wicked Mrs., which I think, is that Wicked's wife?
Wicked Mrs.? Yeah, I guess so.
It might be.
From the USA. And she said, great podcast. Just started playing Hearthstone in March. Tried a bunch of podcasts, but yours is my favorite. Great analysis, knowledgeable hosts, and the right amount of salt.
And the correct amount.
I mean, listen, if you have a properly cooked steak, you need a little salt.
Yeah.
A
Just how
little
it is.
Salt Bay action in there.
Yeah.
Just shake me, and some salt will probably come out.
I'm probably not going to shake you.
All right. So now we have Sir Zero E from USA, and she said, great Hearthstone podcast. Listen and get hooked. Thank you so much
Short
for all
and
of
to
your.
the point.
Yes, we love it. Thank you so much for the reviews. We appreciate it. Let's get the next round of people in. Let's see if we can get 3 more. Keep it going.
Give us your reviews, please.
Yeah. So now let's go ahead and go over our Dexplanation segment. All right. So this week, we did mention last week we were going to cover some of the topics from our emails. So now we get to actually dive deeper into it. Appa did a little bit of note-taking on his side, so I'm going to let him kind of take control of the reins here and lead us through the email stuff.
I was going to say, should I just go over the first one? This is the one that I really dug into.
I love it. Let's do this one.
Okay.
Sure, take it away.
So this was the comment / question / suggestion from Tulio. It's one particular topic that I would recommend is how to use Dirty Rat against specific decks, which is definitely an interesting topic because when I was reading this and I was writing down notes, I was like, oh, this is way more complicated than I thought it was. But I'm like, without going into like all of the tiny little nuances, which we could do for like 3 hours against like every deck. I just kind of cooked up some general guidelines that you can kind of use whenever you're playing with Dirty Rat. So in general, it's usually good to hold Dirty Rat versus combo decks in order to throw a wrench in their plans. Like say you're playing against Miracle Rogue or Freeze Mage or something, and you have a removal spell in your hand or a board clear. It's usually good to kind of try and hold the Dirty Rat until, say, turn 6 versus Miracle Rogue and pull the Gadgets and Auctioneer out of their hand and just say, all right, you don't get to play with that anymore. We're playing by my rules. Or versus Freeze Mage, like before turn 8 and you pull an Alexstrasza. They don't get the battle cry from that, and it's incredibly important for them a lot of the time. So you kind of just gain 15 life whenever you do that. So you kind of want to use it in that kind of way versus combo decks to pull out a specific card and kind of like neuter their assault against you. Versus control, you kind of use it in the same way, but it's less important to hit specific cards with it, so it's a lot more flexible in terms of like the turns where you can use it. It's less set in stone, like turn 6 versus Miracle Rogue, or like turn 8 versus Freeze Mage. Like you can just use it like whenever you have a removal spell, and you can, or like a board clear, and you can kind of control what happens with the minion that comes out. Versus aggro, if you can, it's pretty good to hold it until they have very few cards in their hand, so you can turn it into kind of just 2-mana 2/6 taunt with virtually no drawbacks at that point. But you can also use it if you have to. You can just play it early and kind of cross your fingers and hope they don't pull something huge out of it. You can just play it early and try and stop their assault and like trade into some minions and gain a little bit of life. But that it gets a little bit risky depending on what deck you're playing against. Sometimes it's good, like versus Pirate Warrior. You can like Dirty Rat on turn 2 and like maybe pull out the 3-mana 3/4 upgrade dude. I don't remember the name.
Bloodsail Cultist.
Bloodsail Cultist. Yeah. You can like pull that out and like stop an upgrade and like maybe trade into like a couple dinky minions, and like stopping that battle cry is good enough sometimes. But also sometimes you're playing against Hunter and you go like, all right, Dirty Rat on turn 2, and then the Savannah Highmane comes out. So it's just you kind of have to weigh the risk versus benefit, like whenever you're playing it versus aggro, like what turns you're playing it. So those are just like, it's not set in stone, but it's like general good guidelines to follow whenever you're playing with Dirty Rat, because it's such a complex card to play with.
I think that was his point of trying to bring up uses for Dirty Rat, because a lot of people either misplay it or could play it better. So
yeah,
I think that was his point.
There's a couple of like really good tricks that are super relevant in the meta as well. Like against Quest Rogue, if you see them bounce, if they play a minion and it gets the 3rd tick on the quest, and then they bounce it in hand and then pass, that means they're gonna play it on turn 4. If you Dirty Rat right then, there's a decent chance that you'll pull out that minion, and if you can, that immediately kills their quest completion. So because if they don't have the other copy of that card, they've already dumped all their resources into trying to get to 4 on that specific card. So you're in you're reset their clock by a good deal. So that's a big one to use, because there's still a lot of Quest Rogue on ladder right now. So I like that one a lot. With specific decks, Dirty Rat plus Brawl is like one of the most disgusting things you can do. Same goes
usually
for...
with Dirty Rat, you're going to be either playing it with Brawl or like Equalities and stuff.
Yeah, I was about to say Equality Consecrate is a good one.
So like pairing it with the full board clears is like really gross.
I've also seen Doomsayer used with it too.
Yeah, well, if your opponent plays a Doomsayer, you can Dirty Rat and pull their minion into the Doomsayer, and then they can't do anything about it.
Yep.
And I think
thanks for pointing that out.
It's worth mentioning how good this card is in Wild. Because in Wild, I think Dirty Rat gets a big quality upgrade for a bunch of reasons. First of all, Brand Bronzebeard.
Yeah.
Second of all, the existence of Reno and Kazakus.
Yep.
And it's dangerous against some decks. Don't play a turn 2 Dirty Rat against an aggro shaman. Just don't do it. It's not a good idea. You'll get a 7/7. Everyone will cry. Don't do it. But in a lot of the Reno decks, Dirty Rat was one of the biggest tools to win the mirror match in combination with Bran. And what we're talking about here is you always want to play Dirty Rat when you have a way to kill what comes out of it. or when you don't care what comes out of it, or if you need to take the risk and your opponent's deck is unlikely to have something that you can't deal with. If you're against Token Druid in Standard, if you don't pull a Bittertide Hydra and you don't pull Finja, everything else in their deck is a 1/2, right? A 1/2 or a 2/2 or whatever. It's going to be low risk. The danger there is that if you don't play it on turn 2, they probably played all the minions in their hand, and you might pull an 8/8. So you got to be careful there. But Pirate Warrior is a great example of if you don't pull Frothing Berserker, you're probably pretty happy that whatever you took is out of their hand, and you have your 2/6 taunt. In Wild, you can use it as a combo enabler in a way by pulling 2 minions out of their hand and then into a Shadow Flame or into Frost Nova Doomsayer or something along those lines and really put the hurt in your opponent's deck.
I actually had someone they tried to Dirty Rat against Token Druid and it backfired. Because I dumped a bunch of stuff onto the board with like an Innervate coin play, and I had one card, and they were thinking, oh yeah, his one card is probably a spell, and they Dirty Ratted, and they pulled out my Vicious Fledgling, and then my top deck was Savage Roar, and they died.
Well, and
so yes, risk reward, big questions.
Vicious Fledgling is so good. Card's ridiculous.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, card is dumb.
So how about no-nos? Are there any like do not play Dirty Rat in a specific scenario or against a specific deck?
I don't know. Turn 5 versus Hunter seems terrible.
That's a bad one.
Yeah, or against Priest, if you turn 5 going into their turn 6, you might pull the Cabal Shadow Priest, but you might not, and then they get your 2/6.
Yeah.
And 6 mana, 6/11.
Yeah. That'd be pretty good. I think it really depends a lot on your opponent's deck composition, and it really rewards knowledge of the metagame. Like, I think if you had Dirty Rat against Appa's Shaman deck at DreamHack, he'd probably thank you 9 times out of 10, because that entire deck was removal and fatties, right? That's all the deck was.
It's removals and fatties and Ancestral Spirit.
Yeah, and I think you would probably want to stay away from Control Paladin early on. It's really best paired with cheaper universal removal spells. Polymorph, Hex, Siphon Soul was not cheaper but effective.
Execute, Shield Slam.
Yeah. And
so it's that's why I kind of wanted to break it down into just general guidelines, because we could talk for hours about this card. Like, there's so much depth to it. So
yeah. And, like, it used to be really good against Miracle Rogue when you were pulling Edwin or something you could kill on your terms. But now there's a pretty decent chance of pulling an 8/8, and you don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's part of the reason I built my Miracle Rogue deck the way I did for DreamHack, was with Arcane Giants and, like, few, like, threats. So, like, the Dirty Rats could, like, super punish Taunt Warrior.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we nailed that into the ground there.
Yep. And
what do you want to talk about?
It takes practice. I mean, it's the sort of thing where we can talk about it all the time, but there are times when Chalky was on the receiving end of a famous play on, I believe it was NA versus CN, the last tournament they had.
Yeah.
Where, kind of questionable. But so what happened is, Chalky was playing Miracle Rogue, the older kind of Miracle Rogue that had Small Time Buccaneer, that had Tomb Pillager, and the only minion in his hand was Edwin Van Cleef, along with a whole bunch of coins and preps and stuff. And his opponent ran out of turn 2 Dirty Rat. He was thinking about it, and then when he put it back into his hand, his teammates who were at the desk near enough yelled out, and it's questionable, but the general consensus is that he probably heard them. And then he played it right when the rope expired and pulled a 2/2 Edwin. That was going to be an 8/8 the next turn.
Yeah, basically won the game.
Yeah.
So,
under questionable circumstances, but there are times when it's right to run at that turn 2 Dirty Rat, because that's the best way you have to win the game. But also, it really depends a lot on seeing the matrix, as Appa calls it.
Yeah. It's such a good phrase, isn't it?
I don't even see the code anymore. I just see aggro, mid-range control.
So I wanted to skip Rob's email just because there's so much.
It's
there.
a lot.
That's
It's
just,
a show on its own.
yes. This like explanations for the next 2 weeks. I just wanted to like hit on mulligans because like these two just like are both about mulligans, and it's just like easy to put them together and answer them. And kind of want to toss him to Cinder for this because like he's the more like, I don't know. I feel like you're more stat based than I am, and Hat's been talking a decent amount.
Yeah.
So these two questions came from Jim Grits and Blue Spartan. Jim says, "Can you go over mulligans?" Yes, we can. I'd like some thoughts on whether it's better to settle for some of the cards in your hand and when it's not. It's a big topics, I know, so pointing to articles or resources would be appreciated as well. And Blue Spartan has a very similar question. He said, what are some guidelines for selecting your mulligan? Have you seen that you can sort of dex cards on hsreplay.net by win rate when in your mulligan? Actually, what he's talking about is like HS Replay captures literally everything that happens in the game, including like your mulligan. So they have very detailed, granular stats on how often a deck wins when this particular card is in its opening hand. So that is a great tool to use to consider. You can, like a great example is Patches. Just look at the stats of when Patches is in your hand and look at how much red percentages you see on all those Pirate Warrior lists when that happens. So mulligans, okay. The answer to this depends on your deck, obviously, and then it depends on your opponent. But there are some general guidelines we can hit with this. For me, the question you have to ask yourself is, what is my win condition? And if you look at your hand and you can say, yes, these 3 or 4 cards are helping me get to my win condition, then you keep them. And if they are not helping you get to your win condition, you do not keep them. So if you are an aggro deck, you want to see a bunch of 1s and 2s and other power spike cards in your hand. Like a great druid hand would be like a 1, a 2, an innervate, and a board buff. That's perfect. Then you just roll with that, and you should win the game. But if you see a bunch of 3s and 5s, you throw all of that back. Now, as a control deck, same thing. You know that your win condition is to slow down the game as much as possible and get to your win condition much later. So, like if you're playing Control Priest, you don't want to see Medivh in your opening hand. You want to draw Medivh later on. You do want things that answer the board, like your Potion of Madness, your Shadow Word Pain, your Acolyte, Northshire Cleric. Those are the cards you're looking for against like an aggro set. So it's those two competing questions of, is this helping me win the game, and is it helping me win the game against a specific opponent? Because your win condition will change depending on what your opponent is. Esperoth and I actually went over this, like because our mulligans change depending on the opponent. It's like if we saw an aggro deck, I said you want your cleric and you want your small stuff, your anti-aggro tools, and then we'll build into a board later. Or if we faced against like another priest, I'd say don't keep your small stuff. Get your Razor Leafs on board, because your Razor Leafs are your win condition against other priests. So it takes knowing your deck very well and your opponent's deck very well and how your deck wins against other decks in the meta. Then you should be able to answer the question of, do I keep this card in my opening hands? Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
I
feel
think
like you
there are
covered a
some
lot.
super cool case studies, though, right? We were talking about a couple of them. I think Token Druid, we talked about, I think today in Discord, is really interesting. Because it's... So, talk us through what we chatted about, and then I'll chime in.
Sure. So, Token Druid is very, very aggressive. It tops out its curve at like 3, plus like maybe a 5 thrown in. But for the most part, like 28 cards are 3 or less. And one of the things that causes that texture of a deck list causes to happen is that you have so many small minions, like you might have 8, 10, 11 1-drops. You're almost guaranteed to have an opening minion no matter what you do with your mulligan. So it's very likely, no matter how many cards you keep or pitch, that you're going to get 1 or 2 1-drops in your opening hand. So the thing that we were talking about is it okay to hard mulligan for Innervate all the time? And I think I'm leaning towards the answer to that being yes, because you want Innervate to be able to overpower the board early on, because getting a 1-drop is not what's winning the game. It's getting a 1-drop and then another 1-drop and then a Mark of the Lotus on turn 1, and then having like 2/3s and a 3/3 on board before your opponent even gets a turn. That's how that deck wins the game. So actually hard mulliganing for Innervate is what allows that to happen more frequently. So I think it actually may be correct, as Hat posited, to just dig for Innervate every single time, because you know you're going to get your 1-drops no matter what.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's, you look at some decks and you look at the chart of when is this deck most likely to win. And if you go back to something like Zoo was most likely to win when he went 1 and then probably double 1 into an Imp Gang Boss or a coin into an Imp Gang Boss, right? But it's likely when you curved out and used all your mana the first few turns, spent it quickly, built a board advantage, used Life Tap to refuel your hands, but because, you had a decent board advantage already. That was the best draw you were going to get. The second best draw Token Druid's going to get is that kind of draw, right? Where you go 1-drop, double 1, or 2-drop, and, you build your board. The best draw you're going to get is turn 1 Enchanted Raven, coin, Innervate, Vicious Fledgling, and then you win the game immediately. So you have this consistent mulligan pattern, you have this consistent draw, and then you have this small nut draw that only occurs when you draw one specific card. So what I've been doing, if the card's not named Innervate, or if it's named Hungry Crab and I'm against Paladin, I'll keep those. Otherwise, if it's not named Innervate, I throw it back. And it's been really interesting that most of those games turn into wins because the opportunity to cheat mana in the early game means you overcome the card disadvantage a lot of the time by just pushing damage to the face. So I don't know if it's correct, but it's what I've been doing, and it feels pretty good.
I mean, there's, and this I'm going to say this example for Token Druid, but this applies to all decks. There are going to be certain combinations of cards you just want to keep. Like right now, I'm playing with Arcade Anomaly. I think that's actually an excellent card for Token Druid. So if I'm going second and I see Arcane Anomaly, the Bloodsail Buccaneer, and a Mark of the Lotus, I'm just going to keep that because that allows me to have a super explosive opening. But if the texture of your hand is a little like, okay, I have my 1-drops, but not everything, then like pitch for the Innervate and you should be able to more frequently hit your power spikes.
Yeah, and there are lots of decks that have that kind of weirdness to them where you're going to hard mulligan more often, and it takes a lot of discipline to do that. Because if you look at a 1, a 2, and a 3, you say, okay, this is exactly what I want, but it might be what you're willing to take, but it doesn't have to be the best hand in your deck, and that might mean throwing back a good hand at the chance of getting a great hand, and at a low risk of getting a poor hand.
I think that's a good topic that we're covering, just because I feel like generally people start learning mulligans as you play the deck more and more, and what works, what doesn't, what just experience, I guess. So going off of what your thought process is when you're mulliganing. Yeah, I'm sorry, we're making up words here. And
word salad.
Word salad. And so it's a good thing to kind of keep in mind and to kind of skip the learning phase a little bit. That's what we're trying to help you out with. So glad we're able to cover that. And of course, we're going to cover Rob's questions and topic ideas at a later time. But anything else you want to mention? Appa, you want to mention anything?
Not really. I mean, they've been playing more Druid than I have recently. Like, they covered it. I mean, they hit the nail on the head. Like,
I mean, same thing goes for like Quest Rogue. You're gonna look for certain.
Yeah, just like a general, like Cinder said, like the general rule when you're mulliganing is like, does this like progress my game plan of the deck? Like, does this move me forward? Does this opening hand move me forward to a position that like takes me to where my deck wants to go? Like with that grade, it's just gonna want to be curving out to like assert pressure on your opponents. And with control, it's gonna be not dying to get to your late game. Just like those kind of things.
It's taking into consideration your opponent, and also I would like to say your risk reward. So because if you have like I don't have any specific examples. I'm just thinking of like Edwin specifically. Like if you throw out an Edwin early and they have a way to answer it, and you now have no hand, that pretty much does it for you.
Yeah. Well, like that's actually a pretty good example. Like Edwin, there are certain hands you keep with Edwin and some that you do not. Like if you see a prep and a coin and a backstab and then Edwin, you just go ahead and keep all that, because that's a pretty good chance you're gonna throw out a huge Van Cleef on like turn 2. However, if you're playing against a priest, you probably don't, or a shaman, you probably don't want to do that because they have an answer for a big minion on turn 3. So once again, yeah, it comes down to knowing your opponent as well as how your deck is going to win against that opponent and lose.
I'm not going to disagree with that, but I always keep Edwin 100% of the time. I just can't resist.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, I think
it's also always good to just like ask questions.
Yeah.
Just be like, do you have it? If yes, we continue this game. If not, I'm going to collect my star and move on.
True.
Yeah. Well, and I think there can be something like, I think a good question is, let's use Secret Mage or Burn Mage as an example against a warrior. Do you keep Frostbolt? Right? And so the question here is, does the left card in their hand turn red? Right? And that's something that's really, really important in this metagame against rogue and warrior. If the left card in their hand turns red, that means they're mousing over it. If it's the quest, they're probably used to not touching it, unless they're really elevated in terms of their play. But Frostbolt is amazing against Pirate Warrior. If you don't have it, you probably lose. But against Taunt Warrior, it doesn't do a ton. So do you keep it?
Well, it's like, again, the risk-reward thing is like versus Taunt Warrior. How impactful is being down this card for like 6+ turns going to be for the overall game plan? Not that big of a deal compared to your win rate dropping a significant amount versus Pirate Warrior, if it's Pirate Warrior,
Yes.
So like, just kind of keep it a lot of the time, just to hedge basically versus Pirate Warrior.
Yeah, because you're not losing a huge percentage against a Taunt Warrior if you keep it, but you are losing a big percentage against Pirate if you don't.
Yeah, so you take the kind of more conservative approach.
Yeah, and I think it's a good example, and there are lots of them. We could do this for name every card in the game. Do you keep it? And then the answer is, well, it depends. The number of cards you keep against everybody is what? You always keep the Rogue Quest. There you go.
maybe not. There's
there's so much to like go into with these kind of topics, and like we could cover them for hours and hours and hours, but like because the point of the podcast is like bring the competitive side of the game to you guys and get you better at it, we want to give you general guidelines that like we function off of just like naturally, and we build upon that. So we want to give you like the guidelines to kind of work from yourselves and just improve.
Starting point.
Yeah, the starting point.
So the starting point is keep the Rogue Quest and keep Mana Worm, and everything else comes with time.
All right, that pretty much covers our deck explanations, I'd say.
Yep.
If you'd like to write in any questions or have questions you'd like us to cover, we are most likely going to have like quick fire questions in the near future. You can write that in our Discord channel, which is questions for the cast. You could also email it to us at coinconcede@gmail.com, and or even leave comments on the website. So we'll get it. It'll get emailed, and we'll add it. We want to make sure we answer all your questions, at least try to. So that does it for that. You guys have been talking a lot. I'm going to take over the thank yous here. So thanks to Stefan L. for letting us know about his cover. You can check him out on our show notes, which is going to be linked on our website at coinconcede.com. Follow us on Twitter at coinconcede. Like and share our Facebook page at facebook.com/coinconcede. Come join our daily Innervate Druid questions and answers here on our Discord. And you can find it by just literally typing in discord.coinconcede.com. And if you'd like to share for some merch, we have our merch store. Yeah, Face is out. We have oh man, I'm gonna get that one. Shop.coinconcede.com. And big thanks to Variatus for being our producer.
Viriatus.
I'm
Your shirt's on your way. I'm
The
doing
producer.
that after the show today. I wanted to check and make sure I got the right type of shirt because I realized there's different type of shirts.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that after the show here. Any shout outs this week? Let me start with Cinder.
Okay, so just a note on the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, if you are not now, and you are not today in the Discord, you missed a 10-minute pun run about crab lice.
Oh,
I
it
just
was
want you to
so
know
good. It was
what
so
you're
good.
missing if you're not in the Discord. So you should probably hit discord.coinconcede.com. So my shout out this week is to Ferris Biscuit. He is, I assume it's a he, is the person who organizes the tournaments for 1600 Dust. He does a great job of both running and promoting the events. And if you have never run an event before, you could probably learn a lot from him. So huge shout out to him for organizing the tournament that I played in. I had a lot of fun. I'll be back, and because like tournament organizers, I feel like never get enough credit because they do so much work.
No, that's a hard job.
It is.
That's a legit shout out. That's good.
There's a
I
lot
like
going
it.
on behind the scenes. And you
I
can
write
tell a
it.
good tournament organizer when you don't know how much they do.
Yep.
That's true. That's a good point. What about you, Hat?
My shout out is to Rob, Grant, and Eve over at Velen's Chosen.
I need to go listen to that. I need to go
They-
listen.
They're good people, and they hosted one host of this show about a week and a half ago. His name is Appa. They were talking about Shaman, and he got real excited because Shaman is Bay. And they said,
Yes.
you know what? Let's have a less professionally accomplished host from the same show the week after. And that's where I come in. Because I wasn't able to be on Coin Concede last week, but I was able to be on Velen's shows. And so we talked about Quest Rogue for a while. Really had a great time with them. It's very enjoyable. And Rob and I somehow have gotten to know each other because he runs in Japan time, and I'm on East Coast US, but so do I. So we've been able to connect a lot. In their Discord, we've talked about it before, but this time Legend is one of the best things to happen to the Discord Hearthstone community in a long time. So it's a really enjoyable community they built over there, and they're really great folks, so it was nice working with them.
Yeah, I agree on every part you said there. They're good friends of the show. All right, and let's go with Appa. I'll wrap it up.
So, I wanted to give a shout out to all you guys because I know I haven't talked that much today because I feel terrible. As
He
I'm
has
sure
been
you,
feeling terrible.
you know from right before the show. And to springboard off that, I want to give a really big shout out to Viriatus because he's super understandable because I got sick like last night right before we were supposed to coach. And I feel terrible because he's the producer and we got to take care of him. So we're going to reschedule. I'm going to give you extra time. I feel awful. But thank you everybody for picking up my slack for this episode because I know I've been kind of a stick in the mud. I just haven't been moving around that much.
That's fine.
Yeah, he's even during the show. We won't go into detail, but yeah, we feel for you.
Yeah.
So
You do you, man. You guys picked up my slack last week. I talked even less than you.
you got to make it up. You still got to talk on Velen Chosen, so
But it's not the
you at least still
same.
feel same week. It's not the same, but I'm saying you got it at least let it out. So that's
Yes.
good. So just since we're talking about Hat, I'm gonna shout out Hat's hat, which I love.
Oh yeah, Hat's hat is so good.
For those
How would you
that-
describe it if you had to pick one word?
Crazy.
Ludicrous.
I'm gonna
Absurd.
go with ridiculous.
He said it!
Buzzword.
Buzzword.
It's like in a movie when they say the title of the movie in the movie.
I
Yeah.
feel like I should be buried by ping pong balls right about now.
Yeah.
And I am
those
aging
that are
myself with that
listening,
reference.
Oh, man.
Uh,
You can't say that in television.
I just want to describe the hat. It's a hat. It's ball like a ball cap, but it says ridiculous on it. So for those that aren't live with us and can't see it, it's awesome.
Courtesy,
Or in other words, ridiculous.
Yes.
So.
courtesy of my lovely girlfriend, Melody, also known as Fly That Kite on Twitter. She's great, and she got this for me, and she's a winner. So,
She's a winner.
yes. A+
Speaking of
would
sni-
girlfriend again.
Speaking of significant others, I'm going to shout out to my wife. Happy belated Mother's Day to all those listeners too. But I I did say I was going to make a big announcement, and now's the time I'm going to do it. So shout out to my wife, because she's going to be delivering another baby this year.
What?
Yay!
I'll
That's
be a
so
daddy
many.
again.
That's so
Yeah.
many Tiny Kennys.
It's
Yes.
You're gonna have more kids than Cyclone as Hearthstone players.
Oh no.
I'm just saying.
Oh my god.
Is it a race now? Do we need to get Frost to like get us some more people?
Well, they can add players faster than Kenny can add children. I think that's an unfair advantage, but we don't have to get into that. This is a family podcast.
The birds and the bees. But yeah, so
Oh my God.
I'm really excited. We don't know anything yet. She's 11 weeks today, so December 6th. Funny story. My son's gonna be 2 years this weekend on the 20th.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that goes to deja vu. When I started the podcast, because I started with Kevin and Cora. This was soon after my son was born, and I'm sitting at home. I have no work. What am I gonna do? Just twiddling my thumbs. Like, I really want to get onto this Hearthstone podcast thing. So that's when I started it up and started thinking about it. So it's been 2 years already. That's crazy to think. But so the whole point of the story is that
I like stories.
I should end the show now. End of the show. But now I forget what it is. But it was probably not even worth mentioning anyway.
What?
It's
Be quiet, you.
it's
That's amazing.
yeah.
So I'm really excited. We don't know the gender yet. That's what my story was going to be. So he was actually born on his cousin's birthday, and then his other cousin is born on December 5th. So it's possible that both my children are going to be born on their my brother-in-law's children, like each of their children's birthdays, which would be really crazy if they're sharing 2 kids, 2 different families. It seems insane.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty ridiculous, actually.
Ridiculous.
Oh dear.
Ping pong balls.
Did we find a name for the show? Is it-
Mecha lecka hi, mecha hiney honey ho.
Oh my God.
All right, we're getting like sleepy.
We're getting in the weeds here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good phrase.
Let's hit it. Let's get the end of the show done. Ridiculous hats. Where can people find you?
You can find me at quality hat stores. I recommend the Gorin Brothers. They have multiple chains across multiple locations, but if I'm not at a hat store, you can find me on Twitter at Ridiculous Hat or on Twitch, twitch.tv/Ridiculous Hat. We'll be streaming in about 25 hours from now, probably with Secret Mage. And yeah, it'll be fun. I stream Thursdays, midnight Eastern, 9 Pacific, and Mondays, 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. So feel free to drop in. We had the Under Thing was in there last week. A bunch of other people, but I remember the Under Thing because they got coached and also showed up, and it was really good. Oh, and we got hosted by Willie Dills, which was super amazing because he has a lot more viewers than me, and then they all stopped in for a minute. I was like, hey, who are you?
Dope.
Yeah, it was cool.
All right, and Appa, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter at Cyclone Appa, and on Twitch at twitch.tv/AppaHS, where my stream schedule right now. I finally worked one out. It's Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern time. Subject to change based on like coaching and stuff that I have to do, but that's
Yeah, when he's not coaching and being streamed coaching.
yeah, that's like the general guideline for right now. So might do more on the weekends moving forward, but might change a little bit with how school's going and stuff. But yeah.
All right, and Cinder.
I'm on Twitter all the time at Cinder Ascendant. I had a Twitter explosion last week, and I got a whole bunch of new followers, and I don't know what to do now. Like, should I make memes or should I post stuff? But you should follow me anyway, and we'll find out what happens.
Yeah,
then,
you have the best memes, and even some you create.
But only like
memes.
once a month, though. That's kind of the part of the problem. Like, maybe I should pick up my meme game.
That post
should.
exploded.
Literally. And figuratively and visually. And anyway, yeah, go find it. It's funny.
Exploded. I get it.
I did. You got it. And my Twitch, which now has a streaming schedule, twitch.tv/Cinder Ascendant, will be doing Heavy Metal Hearthstone Saturday night again. And Sunday's Retro Console may be bumped either to Sunday morning or Saturday during the day this week because I have D&D and I'm a nerd and I have to do my nerd things. But we will play more Super Nintendo for sure.
Yeah, I've been really interested in doing D&D. I've never played it, but
So you gotta do your nerd thing. Would you say you have nerdges?
Nerdges?
Appa, I'm so proud.
I felt like I had to share. That one was a good one.
Yeah.
there we go. See that's your catchphrase.
Yeah, it was. It's just been such a good
Pretty
show,
much.
you guys. I'm so excited to be back. I missed you for a week.
Half the show is just us catching up.
Yeah.
All right. And for me, you can find me on Twitter at KCCO_gamer. I haven't really been twitching lately, mainly just a show, but yeah. So find me there or come find me on Discord, add me in Battle.net. You'll find me. And Cora, you can keep up with her at Songbird_HS. We are eventually going to get her on here. We're getting closer and closer when she was expecting to be available. So we will keep you posted. Hopefully it's soon. And that does it. That's a wrap. Let's end the show. So I'm going to say keep calm and chive on. And if you see us on ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
You have bested.
Choose done.
You win this one.
I concede. You win this time. Well fought. I concede. You win this one, friend. The victory is yours.
I get it.
Kenny, this is for you, buddy.
We can't bust heads like we used to, but we have our ways.
Oh, you got it.
One trick is to tell them stories that don't go anywhere. Like the time I caught the ferry over to Shelbyville, I needed a new heel for my shoe. So I decided to go to Morganville, which is what they call Shelbyville in those days. So I tied an onion to my belt, which was the style at the time. Now, to take the ferry cost a nickel, and in those days, nickels had pictures of bumblebees on them. Give me 5 B's for a quarter, you'd say. Now, where were we? Oh, yeah. The important thing was that I had an onion on my belt, which was the style at the time. They didn't have white onions because of the war. The only thing you could get was those big yellow ones. We can't bust heads like we used to.
I don't need that. Okay, thank you, Hat. Here.